What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Kyle Kelly live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. A little bit earlier of a start time today. Singer double booked. Got a haircut at 11 Eastern. So that's on me. That's on me. But hey, we got some things to discuss ahead of a Notre Dame recruiting weekend, which shouldn't be too crazy unless they have a surprise. The Garvin kid, the 2026 offensive lineman from Michigan's coming to town. Kyle and I like where the Irish are at there. We'll see if there's anything else, but we should have a visitor report hopefully posted this afternoon. Yeah, Kyle, everything going well on your end, my friend?
Yeah, it was as you know, man, it was a crazy start to the week coming out of that Florida State visit. I'm very thankful for the job that On3 Vice President of Recruiting and Transfer Portal, Steve Wiltfong, and On3 Director of Recruiting, Chad Simmons, did for us with helping us provide what I thought was the best coverage coming out of the Florida State weekend. And, of course, that transpired with some commitments, which I know we're going to dive into a little bit deeper on today's show.
So the week, like on Saturday afternoon, so Friday. No, it was the week before. So like the Nolan James offer gets out there, the running back commit for Boston College gets out there, that the Irish are after him. The next day you went to see him. So you got to, again, watch him in person here recently. So James announces his commitment to Notre Dame on 11/11. So I wish. Yeah, so a nice running back pickup for the Irish when you watch the tape. Highly productive prospect. Kyle, why don't you, I've opined about James twice already this week on our Blue and Gold YouTube channel. So why don't you tell us about Nolan James and what you saw from him?
Yeah, so it worked out conveniently well that I happened to be out his way when the reports emerged on Friday, November 1st, that Notre Dame was interested. His name was a little bit familiar with me because he plays on the same team as Notre Dame wide receiver commit Elijah Burris. So I know there was some subscribers at Blue and Gold who were very fond of his talent. So I had done just a little preliminary research and came away pretty impressed. So when Notre Dame offered, I was very happy that I was local that day, or not when they offered, but when those reports emerged, I was local that day and was able to pop out to the first half of his game on November 1st against St. Joseph Regional, which is the same school that produced Aldrich Estime and Howard Cross III. And I gotta say, after seeing him in person, I came away very impressed. I think, a lot of people have said it. I feel the same way. Charles Power feels the same way. That I think Nolan James plays a whole lot like Kyron Williams, who obviously left his Notre Dame career as a very talented guy, put up a lot of yardage in multiple different facets of the game, and has been one of the best running backs in the NFL since leaving South Bend. All-pro guy, Pro Bowl guy. And I see a lot of the similarities there with Nolan James. What is going on with the video? Are you playing it?
I played it, Kyle. It was very choppy on your end. So I played it on mine, and I think it looks better. It was running at like 3 frames per second. So I think it's looking a little bit better. I played it on my end, Kyle.
Well, ironically, it's choppy on my end. But
okay, well, that must – yeah, well, that's how it goes.
Nolan James, speaking of choppy, is choppy feet, which is
nice job.
That's the one thing about his game that I like a lot is he is tough to bring down on the first tackler. He shakes guys and bakes guys and breaks them loose pretty often. I really like this pickup for Notre Dame. I think he's similar to Aeneas Williams. Sometimes when you recruit running backs, you want to get different skill sets in that room. And I know Notre Dame has different, especially this year, a lot of different skill sets. So I found it kind of interesting that Nolan James is pretty comparable to Aeneas Williams from that aspect. But I think this was a no-brainer take for Notre Dame, just looking at his senior stats this year. 181 carries, 1,419 yards, averaging just about 8 yards per carry, 14 touchdowns. Also has 22 catches for 265 yards and 2 scores. That's coming against some of the top competition there with the non-public schools in northern New Jersey. I mentioned in my 5 thoughts column that I expect him, or that I very strongly disagreed with his ranking. And after reading Charles Powers' assessment of him and some of the other, our competitors where they stand in his ranking, I expect him to get a big rankings bump. And I think we're going to be talking about Notre Dame signing a 4-star running back potentially out of New Jersey in this cycle.
Yeah, I would feel very, maybe not confident, but I expect 1 or 2 of the rankings websites to bump as a 4-star. There's just no way. I like, knowing what I know about rivals, I would be pretty surprised if they don't bump them up. I feel like they will. And I don't know if On 3 will. We'll see. I mean, I would guess he would get a bump in like the positional rankings, and I don't know if we'll get up to 4-star, but between again ESPN and 24/7, does ESPN still update their recruiting rankings? But I think he's going to get a bump up by somebody. So Nolan James, nice running back commitment for the Irish, and then Thomas Davis Jr. This one was kind of like not a surprise, but he didn't like, hey, announcement coming soon. It just kind of popped out of nowhere. But this was one that like Notre Dame was pushing to get this one done based on how well his visit went, and the Irish just like how this really trended throughout the calendar year with his visits to campus. And then I got to talk to him a few minutes after he announced his pledge, and he told me that like he's got 2 cousins that he's made several college visits with. They're 4-star prospects in the 2026 class, and he was like, I don't know if I'll take more trips with my cousins. He might go to some game day trips with them, but he told me that like Notre Dame fans have nothing to worry about. So this was another nice get. 6'2", 210 pounds. The Notre Dame just recruiting these NFL legacies. It just keeps on trekking along. So watching his sophomore tape here, and when you watch his junior film, Thomas Davis Jr. like looks a good bit bigger, but there's not like a dedicated junior film for him yet. It's just like some individual games. But another nice get. This was Notre Dame's like top guy in the 2026 class at the linebacker spot. They got him committed early, Kyle. So I've given my thoughts on him at Blue and Gold this week. What say you? What do you think about this commitment?
Yeah, I gave 5 thoughts about it yesterday in written format. So please feel free to check that out on Blue and Gold. But just to kind of reiterate some of those points in our video for podcast and audio audience, I will say that I was a little bit I was surprised by the timing of it, because I didn't think he would commit this quickly. But going back to the summer after his Notre Dame visit in July, I know, in communicating with you, I had told you that I thought Notre Dame was really setting the pace in this recruitment. I felt they were out in front. Both of us, reflected that with our predictions into the On3 recruiting prediction machine for him to land, for Notre Dame to land Thomas Davis Jr.'s commitment. The reason I did not expect it to come this soon is because I know he visited Oregon this season, had a great trip out there. Penn State had come along pretty strong this season. He was supposed to get out to Happy Valley for a visit. He never made that trip. And I know Tennessee was becoming a factor because they've done about as good of a job as anyone recruiting the elite prospects in Tennessee with David Sanders Jr. The elite prospects in North Carolina, especially the Charlotte area, with David Sanders Jr., 5-star offensive tackle, the 5-star quarterback in the 26 cycle, Faison Brandon. So I thought Tennessee might be a factor here as well. But obviously Notre Dame was just so far ahead compared to all those schools. That's why I think he shut it down. I know that his family really resonated with Notre Dame, spent a lot of time with Tom Mendoza, the namesake of Notre Dame School of Business, on Saturday. Ironically, Davis's father, Thomas Davis Sr., who was a big-time NFL guy, played for the Panthers, Chargers, and Commanders, Pro Bowl guy for the Panthers. He was in Germany on Sunday. And
Really?
yeah, he was in Germany over the weekend for the Panthers Giants game, kind of serving as an NFL ambassador. So he didn't make the trip.
Huh.
I heard he was pretty disappointed that he wasn't able to go, but the fact that he signed off on Thomas Davis Jr.'s commitment without being in South Bend on his most recent trip pretty much tells me all I need to know. And just one last thought about the Cousins thing, because he is cousins with two of the top defensive linemen in the 26th cycle, Aiden and Andrew Harris. They all play on the same high school team. They all live together in the same household. So obviously,
Really?
yeah, there's a very strong connection there.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. It's like, okay, they're like, if they were to go on visits together, like, okay, like they're quite literally like cousins,
Yes.
but brothers, right? Like his cousins are basically his brothers if he lives with them.
Essentially, yes, that's the best way to look at it. So, ironically, with his cousins, the Harris twins, at one point, one of the Harris twins, I think Aiden Harris, there's Andrew and Aiden, I forget which one, but was trending heavily towards Ohio State entering the season. But then I know Jeffrey Lee, who works at the Auburn site for On3 Log Predictions, for both those guys to end up in Auburn's class pretty recently. So something to watch there. I would say it probably works in Notre Dame's favor for those two guys to commit sooner than later, because that'll, tone
Slow it
down
down,
the number of visits that Thomas Davis Jr. would take to other schools. But I really do think he sees something in Notre Dame, and that's why he made the commitment, and I have no reservations about him sticking with it.
Interesting. Good stuff, Kyle. Good insight as always from Kyle Kelly. Folks, hit the thumbs up on this video if you're watching live, watching back. Really appreciate you guys for joining us a little bit earlier than usual, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are new here. If you listen via podcast, appreciate you as well. Please leave us a 5-star review and fill out why you are leaving us a 5-star review. That would be very much appreciated. Our friends over at PrizePicks are sponsoring this week's Notre Dame recruiting update. And folks, testing my skills on PrizePicks during football season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy. You got quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types. This is what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. You select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. And you have weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, where each Tuesday PrizePicks discounts selected player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. I mean, they have the goblins and the demons, which is, I mean, it's just fun. Like, you go to prizepicks.com, click on the how to play, and it just, it'll explain all this stuff. I mean, there's non-standard payouts. So if you do a goblin, it's a lower than the normal projection, but you don't make as much. Whereas the demon, it's bigger payout, but the number rises for the projection here. So let me see if I can cycle through one of these. It's not letting me here, but yeah. Oh, so here you go. So Jaden Daniels, see his goblin is 199. The regular is 227. You got multiple goblin options, and then the demon of 274. So it's fun. Oh, multiple. So you got a lot of different options here for Jaden Daniels tonight, in the game against Philly. So let's see if I have any. I don't have any active lineups, but I did hit a nice one last night. Jordan Poole, less than 8.5 rebounds and assists, and Dennis Schroeder had a surprise discount from, it was 18.5 down to 12.5, and that hit. So we always love PrizePicks over here. So download the app or head to prizepicks.com. Make sure you use the promo code BGI to receive a guaranteed $50 once you play $5 lineups. Again, folks, promo code BGI. Let's get back to your regularly scheduled programming. So a couple weeks ago, Kyle, you went out to the Northeast. Man, I haven't been on the road to see a recruit in like a month or so with my daughter's born 4 weeks ago today. But yeah, you got to see Brunswick School. And Kyle, I know you want to talk about the others, but we're going to just hear about Blake Hebert, and then we're going to talk about Augie's locker room. So tell us about your time seeing Notre Dame's quarterback commits in the 2025 class. And then I know you wrote a good story today inside quarterback Blake Hebert's unpredictable path to becoming a Notre Dame pledge. You also got to report on his official visit. So a lot of Blake Hebert reporting at Blue and Gold recently. So yeah, tell us about your time seeing him. And I definitely am one here, just talking with him as a young man, what that was like.
Yeah. So I'll try to play the video, Mike. If it does end up choppy, you can go ahead and play it yourself. But yeah, so I'm gonna pop this on here.
Let me just, if you don't mind, Kyle.
Okay.
I'll just do it on my own.
Easy enough.
Yeah. So what did you think?
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about Blake Hebert, my travels last week, but there was just way too much to discuss with his with the Notre Dame versus Florida State visitor weekend this past Saturday. So didn't really get the chance to touch on him a whole lot. So that's why he's kind of the focus of the show this week. And just kind of recapping my travels briefly, the way I set it up is I flew in there on Friday. I got to spend some time out at practice with him the night before the game. Then I went and saw him on Saturday evening after I was at Nolan James's game at DePaul Catholic. I made my way up, or it was in Montvale, New Jersey at St. Joseph's Regional, but I made it up to Paulding, New York, about an hour drive to watch Brunswick School take on Trinity Paulding, and came away very impressed with Blake Hebert. That New England Conference, like, it's not really known for having top competition, but
the top end is really good, right? Like
there's the competition there is much better than you would think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think Trinity Paulding is one of those teams. If you're looking at some of the teams in that NEAPSAT conference, probably have the least amount of college recruits. But I still was able to get a pretty good look at Blake Hebert, and he put on a show. He completed I think it was first 10 passes for 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, led them to 5 straight scoring drives in the first half. And he did it all without running it all on the ground, which is probably one of his elite traits, kind of like Riley Leonard. I even asked him in my conversation about him if Notre Dame has compared him to Riley Leonard at all. I asked Maddie Augustine if he sees the comparisons at all. And I can't say for certain that it's really come up in the conversations between Hebert and the Notre Dame coaching staff, but in talking to him, he kind of agreed that he could see the resemblances, but he made sure to tell me that he's a pass-first guy. And that was the case when I saw him about 2 weeks ago in that game. And it's been a very interesting senior season for Hebert because this is his first at Brunswick School. He started his high school career at Central Catholic in Lawrence, Massachusetts, a little bit north of Boston, the same school that Notre Dame linebacker Preston Zinner attended. Suffered an ankle injury, ironically, not the same injury as Riley Leonard, but still an ankle injury at the start of his junior year. Wiped out his entire junior season. And once again, ironically to Riley Leonard, kind of started out slow during his senior season, but he's really been able to find a groove. And the difference that he's made for this Brunswick School team has been very impressive. He's led them to an 8-1 record. They're going to play in the conference championship game on Saturday. Last year they were 5-4, so he's really elevated the roster. And talking to Augustine and Long, and then their head coach at Brunswick School, the difference that he's made is been outstanding. And I'll share the one quote that his head coach gave me. And basically he said that since day one, since he's got here, he's been one of the best I've been around. I put him above and beyond anyone that I've been around. Just his work ethic, his demeanor, the positivity, the way he can pick someone up, the leadership, the way he makes people around him better is unmatched. That's what you look for in the quarterback. He's the best to do it. And McGillicuddy's comments came, and with the asterisk that he's been around a lot of talented football players and coach at Florida Atlantic, a number of Division III schools, and he said that Blake Hebert is by far the best player he's ever been around. And in spending time with him on Friday and Saturday, I can definitely see where he's coming from. I echoed some of my thoughts in a premium gold standard story the Monday after my trip out to Brunswick School. And then, as you mentioned, Mike, today on Blue and Gold, I wrote a pretty extensive feature on Blake Hebert's path to Notre Dame and how Brunswick School played a major factor in him flipping from the Irish flipping from Clemson to the Irish.
Yeah.
And it was quite the journey for him, and was able to get some insight from him, his two teammates who are Notre Dame commits, Maddie, Augustine, Ethan Long, and a coach, of course, his head coach, Wayne McGillicuddy. So please check that out at Blue and Gold. And just summarizing my thoughts once more, very impressed with Blake Hebert. I love the fit for Notre Dame. I think he has a chance to be an handbook type of player. Whereas, maybe he's not going to be, the flashiest guy in terms of, like a Deuce Knight, just for example, where, those elite athletic 5-star traits and things like that. But I think he's going to be very successful at Notre Dame, and he has an incredibly bright future.
Okay, watching this, Kyle, you did a really good job shooting this. I get like a mix. And look, when you talk about like player comps, it's as goals we talk about. It's like a fun comp. And we're doing like traits, right? We're not saying, oh, he is going to be this player. Okay. That aside. I get like the kind of the movement, mechanics. Drew Pine. Pine was really he was a better quarterback than he gets credit for. He was just so short and limited athletically and physically, right? But mechanically and the mental makeup, Pine was really, really good. I get like the best of Drew Pine I see in Blake Hebert. Then I get like the some of the physical body northeast of Steve Angeli.
Interesting.
Cold weather quarterback. Like I see some like bigger. I get some Steve, and then the movement ability of Riley. Like you see some of that. You said he didn't really. You said he had no rushing in this game you were at.
No, but then on Saturday, Saturday, had 200 rushing yards, including a 99-yard touchdown. So
let me pop that up, Kyle. You tweeted that, right?
Yes.
All right, let me get this up here.
And while you do that, you know who he might compare best to out of all is honestly CJ Carr. There's a lot of resemblances between Hebert and CJ Carr.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, he runs better than CJ for sure.
Yes.
But CJ is just this well-rounded, mechanically sound quarterback, so that makes sense. So he's kind of like a mix of all of these recent and you bring up recent Notre Dame quarterbacks because they're just who's fresh in mind, like Jason in the chat just said, Andrew, like yeah, not as recent for me. I was in high school when Andrew was a Notre Dame guy. So, but that's who like I see again the kind of the mental and the mechanic Drew Pine, the body type cold weather Angeli. I like my Notre Dame quarterbacks. I've been saying this for years. I like Notre Dame quarterbacks from the North. I do. Cold weather quarterbacks going to play at Notre Dame, I think just works best, especially if you're playing outdoor games in South Bend in December. I like my quarterback to have grown up, and this kid's from Canada, and then some of the movement skills of Riley Leonard, Ian Book, but I think this kid has the projection to work better in the pocket than Happy Feet Ian Book. Kyle, 30 seconds before we got to move on here. Do you have anything else?
Just the one thing I would say, I think he's a perfect fit for Notre Dame. That's why Notre Dame went so hard after him. He complements what they have in that room extremely well. His leadership is off the charts. He has an outstanding personality. So I really like the direction Notre Dame went in targeting Hebert.
Yeah, good stuff, Kyle. Irish fans, we know that you love Notre Dame memorabilia and unique Fighting Irish items, and you're going to find it at one place, and it's Augie's Locker Room, which, as of last fall, moved to a new location. So make sure you see Augie's brand new store located at 1733 North Ironwood Drive, located just down the street from Notre Dame. So whether you're a local or you're in town for a football or basketball game, whatever the case may be, you got to stop in at Augie's Locker Room to check out their wide selection of Notre Dame Stadium pieces, jerseys, helmets, autographs, and one-of-a-kind Rockne items. You can find some exclusive Joe Montana signed items, as well as famous sculptor Jerry McKenna's replicas of the bronze statues outside the stadium. Auggie gets new stuff in all the time. If he doesn't have something in store, he's going to go out and find it for you, just like Auggie found those jerseys for Mike Goolsby that you see in Mike Goolsby's background. So make sure you visit Auggie at 1733 North Ironwood Drive in South Bend and see the vintage helmet display dating back to 1890. Augie's always got incredible stuff you're going to want to check out. So go to augieslockerroom.com, or you can give them a call, 574-277-6363. All right, you also got to see Ethan Long and Maddie Augustine. What'd you think about let's start with Notre Dame safety commit in the 2025 class, kind of one of those guys that you don't talk enough about. When I say you, I mean like the Notre Dame community. This was a nice get, 6'2", 185 pounds, and he committed to Notre Dame back in January over Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, some others. What do you think about seeing him in action?
I do have video of him, Mike, if you want to pull it up. It is brief, but
yeah,
I will mention, I've been really high on Ethan Long because I got to see him at one of Notre Dame's camps in June of 2023. And I was very impressed with the way he moved and just his whole makeup as a defensive back. And I've really kind of been advocating for him to get a rankings bump for a while because I think he is the most underrated player in the class. And after seeing him in person for a second time, his range and his length.
Wow, that was impressive.
That stand out to me. But the where he's really grown this season is his ability to tack the football, as you can see in this video. He's becoming a much hard-hitting safety. He's embracing physicality. And that's where he's really grown to kind of becoming a complete safety. So we talk a lot about Jadon Blair because it was high profile in the class. We've talked a lot about Ivan Taylor, Notre Dame's former safety commit in the class. Ivan Taylor, the former safety commit who flipped out, who's an elite player. And we've also mentioned Brandon Logan, the newest commit, quite a bit just because he has such a unique path to Notre Dame. But I really like Ethan Long. I think this was a great pickup for Notre Dame. His offer sheet shows it when you got the Ohio States, Michigans, and Penn States after him, who targeted him pretty heavily before he committed to Notre Dame last winter. So I think it's a really good pickup for the Irish. I'm fully on board with him. And I'll transition to Maddie Augustine now, if you don't mind, Mike.
Yeah, I got you.
Because going into this trip, I had kind of felt that he was the third offensive line, like in terms of in my head, like who I liked best. Maddie Augustine was probably the guy I preferred third out of the three with Will Black and Owen Strebig. But after seeing Augustine, I think I have him number two behind Will Black, who I think is Joe Alt 2.0, and I know many agree. Augustine is a very impressive player. He is nasty. He is mean as heck. He will get after you. And I think that his mean streak, his athleticism, his physicality are all going to translate exceptionally well at Notre Dame. I don't know where he's going to play because there's got so many offensive tackles on the roster, but it wouldn't surprise me if he plays that Sullivan Absher type role that we've seen this year, where he's doubling between offensive tackle and offensive guard. It'll be I'm especially curious to see where Absher ends up in the future in Notre Dame, just because there's such a log jab of talent and that offensive line group. But I liked Maddie Augustine quite a bit coming out of my trip there. I know watching his junior tape, his pad level seemed a little high, but I think he's getting better with that as his senior year goes on. And boy, I'll tell you what, you stack this offensive line class that Notre Dame has between Augustine, Strebick, and Black. I think it's pretty much unmatched from any other program in the country.
Yeah. And then 2026, I feel like, is off to a pretty good start. We like them for Sullivan Garvin, the Michigan offensive lineman who's visiting this weekend, and then in the lead for a few other guys. So, yeah. And then Cameron Herron, as an interior guy in the 25 class.
That's too bad because I really like his future as a center.
Yeah. I'm so glad that Notre Dame took Cameron Herron. Like, that kid belongs at Notre Dame. So, yeah, really good offensive line recruiting for Notre Dame. Shocker. Notre Dame on the O-line, just plugging along. So, shorter show today, but yeah, we'll have even more at Blue and Gold. Again, previewing this week. It's not going to be a big recruiting weekend when Virginia comes to town. Notre Dame really pushed the Florida State game on those big prospects. So we'll see if there's, any little surprises or anything for this weekend. If there is, we will have you covered at Blue and Gold. But yeah, that is going to do it for this show. If you have not done so yet, please, folks, hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Our offer for folks to subscribe to Blue and Gold is a good one that we have going right now. Let's see if I've tweeted that recently. I feel like I did. Let's see. Maybe I tweeted it from the Blue and Gold. Give me a second. Hold on. Un momento. I'm not signing off until I let you guys know about this. Well, I don't have the graphic handy, but it's $1 for 7 days, okay, here it is. There we go. $1 for 7 days, and if you want to cancel, there you go. You're good. But if you like it, it'll auto renew to 50% off for your first year. So $1 for 7 days and 50% off your first year. When you go to blueandgold.com, if you're not logged in with an account that's subscribed, that will pop up. So if you have more questions, shoot me a DM at Mike T. Singer. I usually check my DMs once a day. So that's going to do it for this week's Notre Dame recruiting updates. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in. And as always, we will catch you next time.